seen, right, all of the things that we write about in the basic 20th century American textbooks. This is the perfect way of telling American history. History is stories. It's the stories of people's lives.
And this story of a woman who lived to be 105 years old stretches from William Howard Taft to Barack Obama. It is the story of a woman who didn't actually learn to read until she was in her 80s, but would eventually become a published author.
Georgia May Spann from Indianapolis, the subject of a documentary that will be screened this week at Louisville's International Festival of Film. The filmmaker is Warren Robinson, Georgia May's great-grandson. Welcome. Glad to have you here.
Thank you.
What a story.
No
Yes, it
kidding.
is. It really is. It's a great story. It's a great inspirational story. It's entertaining. It's funny. So we're just glad I was able to get it on camera.
And you say she narrates part of this, so you saw obviously the value of her story throughout the years, or when did it dawn on you this would make the perfect kind of documentary?
Well, you know, I was about 18, so probably about 11 years ago now, when me and a cousin, we went to interview her, and we had our little homemade camera with our little disc that you put inside, and we sit down and we talked to her, and I tell you, it was so amazing because she told these great stories, and she's a vivid storyteller, as you see in the film. And somewhere along the line, being 18, I lost it. Don't know what I did with the SIM drive. It was gone.
Oh, for heaven's sakes.
And so about 4 years ago, I said, man, I wish I had that tape. I was like, it was just so much family history, so many history, just period. And so I said, man, I wish I had it. And then I said, you know, Madeira's still here. We called her Madeira, and she was 101 at that time. I said, she's still living. She's still in her right mind. I was like, we can still get her story. And after sitting down with her just for a day, I said, no, this is much bigger than we had planned. So we got a crew and made the documentary that hopefully you're going to go see Friday.
Look at her. I mean, look at beautiful.
She is beautiful.
But Warren, that was very insightful of you, though, to collect information. So many of us let our elders go through their passage without thinking like this.
It's
and
history.
You're able to tell a story. Look at all those people. You're able to tell a story that everybody gets a treat from because they learn something about their own life and family.
And I think that's really what makes this documentary unique, is that Miss Spann is kind of that everyday American, and we don't hear a lot of those stories. Usually when we hear historical stories, it's from perspectives of, you know, the super wealthy or the famous, but those are not the majority of our ancestors. Right. Miss Spann represents pretty much everybody, because we all had an ancestor who worked hard, pulled themselves up on their own, and
I think that is the universal tie too.
Yes.
I know when I talk to my mom and I talk to my husband's mom, you go and look at hardship and endurance and lessons that I go, man, I'm not going to complain about anything anymore. Is there one story that stuck with you of hers that you just went, oh my gosh?
Well, you know, this was the fact that she lived to be 105, coming from what she went through, from a person born in abject poverty, from a person who was in a very violent marriage for the early parts of her years, had her children ripped away from her for a decade by this violent husband of hers who refused to let her see them or talk to them, no access to health care because, of course, she didn't have any money, yet still somehow managed to survive all of that with no bitterness, no regret. And at the end of the film, I think she gives the nugget that we can all use, because she tells us how to live your life completely content. And she said, you know what? No matter what happened, I hold nothing against anybody, and I am so happy. I have no regrets. And she gives you her little secret on how she did that. So
that's
I think that's the
amazing.
tool that you can pick up from it.
Is this your first film?
It is. This is my first film.
You're going to have a tough time topping this one.
Yeah.
Well, you know, hopefully there's a lot of projects in there.
He's going, who else can top her?
I know, who else? No. You can't top her in terms of the family.
Right.
There will be other films, but as far as personal, this is very personal. But I do think that people will be able to gravitate toward this story. I think everyone,
That is amazing.
Well, we're delighted to have you here for this film festival. This is a big deal, and for you to be invited is great too. So terrific. Good launch for your career, and what a beautiful story this is.
It is. I mean, I tell everybody, you know, this woman was born 2 years before the Titanic sank.
When you think about that.
Yeah,
wow.
and she lived up until you see Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton running for president.
Right.
So she's seen first African-American president, the possibility of a first female.
Exactly.
I mean, look at how for her life.
She'd be really happy. So.
All right, well, very good. Well, thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
so
sharing.
much for
Really
having me.
appreciate it. Hey, the Louisville International Festival of Film runs Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at the Gold House, the Ali Center, and the main branch of the Public Library. The screening of A Century Plus 5, Friday afternoon at 1:18, to be specific, at the Gold House.
It's a brilliant film name, too. You can see the entire schedule online at LouisvilleFilmFestival.org. You can learn more about Warren's film online at GeorgiaMaySpan.com.
I'm sorry we didn't know her.